Many thanks for making it to this interview and this teaching session on maritime studies, including nautical science on the one side and maritime economics on the other side. But we'd really like to start with you just giving us an intro to who you are and how it is that you landed up in this strange field that we're actually talking about.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. It is an honor for me to be here and part of this interview, so thank you very much for that. My name is Samkele Mlambo. I started maritime back in 2008 after high school. I matriculated in 2007. So I started at a maritime college, I think it's SA Maritime School, where I did your shipping practice and your customs clearing and forwarding. After which I looked for jobs and I couldn't, and ended up doing my maritime studies at DUT.
Okay, so now let me just get some things clear. So at school, did you do maritime subjects at school?
No, there were no maritime subjects, I think, at that time.
When did we start off with maritime as a possible set of school subjects? Any idea?
I wouldn't have an idea, but looking at the two schools that started it, having heard, I think it was back then in 2006, I think, where Isitengile and New Forest were the only two schools that were doing it.
Kind of doing it?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened was you didn't do it?
No.
So then why did you decide to do it at DUT?
You know, it was an adventure, a family discussion we had, keep getting out of your traditional careers of your medicine, your laws, and we were exploring other avenues, and it was a discussion we had as a family, together with my sister, into saying, what else can we consider? What are the possible options that are sustainable in the future that are not even inflated or has many people in it? So we looked at aviation and we looked at the sea. So a family member introduced us to the sea side of things, of which I then gained interest. I did more research and I fell in love and I joined.
So you go to DUT, I'm assuming down in Durban, eh?
Yes, DUT is in Durban.
Okay, and then what subjects do you do in maritime at the Durban University of Tech?
All right, we started S1, where we were doing your basic introduction to law, to maritime law. We're doing sea transports, we're doing shipping administrations, some business administration, your financial and your management, and your basic computer literacy and computer applications course. I think, I can't remember what was the name, but it was a communications sort of module where we were engaging with technology. And then you go up to the levels up until you reach your maritime law 3, your shipping administration 3, sea transport 3, and so forth. Yes.
So it's very much a nautical. It's not the maritime economic side. Yours
it
was
is the shipping. It is the shipping, the
side.
maritime. It is the shipping, the shipping part of it, the business, the commerce.
Now, can I check? Did you need any experience in shipping itself? Did you need to have experience on boats? Was that a part of the requirement, or could you avoid that completely whilst doing your qualification?
Yes, you could be enrolled at that time without having had prior experience in any sea or exposure. So with me, I had maths and science, and it was the basic requirement back then, both for seagoing and shore-based.
Okay.
So at that time it was like that. But I see now you don't need science to access the shipping and logistics course. You rather have one commerce subject.
Oh, really? So they've shifted it from a science thing to a commerce thing?
Commerce, yes, because that's really what it is. It's commerce.
Okay, so now you're sitting, you've got 3 years worth of maritime law and some of the more shipping side under your belt. You've now got, what's it technically, a diploma or degree?
Yes.
What do you call it?
It was a national diploma,
okay.
Of which, in order to us to obtain it, you need work experiential learning for 1 year.
Yeah, so now how do you do that?
At that time, our HOD was putting us into different companies, and mine was Grindrod. I was taken by Grindrod because Grindrod was going all over the country doing a graduate opportunity leadership development program. Basically what they were doing there, they were going to different universities and taking top performing students and putting them into this leadership course for their future interests. I got enrolled in that. We were doing various things, various projects, like your 3-month projects where you would go to a particular business unit that is challenged or has some challenges, we use it to gather research on it, reports, and make recommendations. So it was more of like a consultancy sort of work at an in-serve level. So I got that exposure at that stage. And then after that, my 12 months went, and Greenrod employed me permanently as line manager at Greenrod Fuel Logic for fuel distribution.
Nice. Now, fuel distribution, I assume that means basically when you're doing that, are you working on the harbour side and then inland? Because you obviously must be working with rail.
Yes.
Shipping.
Yes.
Road.
Yes. Yes. Now I interact with those different aspects, or we rather call it the modes of transport. From when ships would come, bringing crude oil or petrochemicals, get refined at a refinery, and then we get to distribute it to your service stations or your mines, any other organization that would require or consume fuel. So we were in charge of that.
So now, what do you actually do? So now let's say that's a description. What do you actually do on when you were working for Greenrod on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis, I come on shift, and I just manage the operation of trucks. So I do trucking there. Drivers would come and they do the inspections on truck, the safety inspections on the trucks. And mine is to also allocate the load for them and distribute to issue a schedule for the day. So I monitor that. So drivers would normally come and they will go and collect the fuel from wherever they have to, and then I'll give them a route as to where they are sending their fuel and monitor the progress throughout.
Now, you do that on a daily basis?
Yes.
Are you also responsible for the weekly, the monthly, the yearly planning? Do you have to make that a part of your job, or is that like a pay grade too high for you? Where does management step in and start to make a high level plan on top of what you do?
Our structure was, we had we called it a contract manager, a shift manager, and an administrator.
Okay. So what's the difference between, and what does the administrator need to basically no degree or no national diploma?
I would assume so, or rather a basic administration course.
Something like that.
Yes.
Okay, and they're responsible for making sure that the admin stuff gets done.
Yes.
Then you get the shift manager.
Yes. Shift manager now manages the operation. Okay, from the human resource side of things. Your BVO, we call them BVO, bulk vessel operators, the truck drivers. So you've got to monitor from when they come in, their CVs, their qualification, all their compliance, and ensure that they are compliant with the regulations. And as far as we were dealing with petrochemicals and hazardous goods, so there was compliance that needed to be in place. So ours was to ensure that that is in place. And when you look at the HSC side of things, we're looking at the health and safety, be it the truck and the environment at large, where there's a lot of trainings that our drivers need to undergo. So ours is to schedule and organize that, to check if the certificates have expired or not, and just to monitor on that to ensure that they are compliant with those regulations. Yes, and also you plan for the month. You do your I can't remember what we call it, where you plan for the hours of work for the whole month, and you monitor that weekly.
Like a schedule, like a schedule. Monthly schedule.
Yes.
Okay, so now let's say now you're doing that, you're in charge of the monthly schedule, you're in charge of safety, you're in charge of making sure that the petrol gets loaded properly and the oaks don't kill themselves, there's no explosions, and basically on a daily basis they're getting where they're supposed to go, and there's enough fuel. So you're doing that?
Yes.
And what happens if you get a promotion? If you go one level up, what do you land up doing?
You become a contract manager, where basically the whole thing, the whole idea there was the company will be awarded a contract by either your biggest green chip companies, your Shells, your Sasols. So you're managing that contract, managing that relationship at that level. Okay. Basically, and yours is to ensure that the client is always happy.
So it's a different skill set. You've got to. What do you need when you move up that one extra level? What would you say your you need to show in order to get there?
I think if you go there, you now starting to be engaged more in strategic thinking, your marketing, your international, your human relations, and also you have much stronger business acumen and a business sense. So you gotta look at it now on a business perspective, in terms of, are we making a loss or are we losing? Well, what is the overall business perspective? I think that's how you're looking at it at that level.
Okay.
Obviously reporting to your regional and your national leadership.
And then you just start to move up, but
Yes.
it becomes more strategic.
Yes.
It becomes more involved in the business side of things,
Yes.
more with people, connections,
Yes, networking.
managing,
Yes.
networking kind
Yeah.
of sides
Yeah.
of things. Okay, so now you're at Grunrod. So then what happened?
And then, no, I was studying at that time as well because from my diploma, I've always wanted to go to a master's level, and from there I see where I land. Now, in order to get in there, I needed to get a degree first, and then honors, and then what? And then I started doing a business administration's BTech at the team, of which would then award me that BTech, that degree status.
Okay.
For me to.
And this is after you've done the year, so you've now got your national diploma.
I now have my national diploma.
Okay.
I got my national diploma while I was doing the graduate leadership development program, that 1 year program.
Okay.
Yeah. Now that I'm permanent, I already have the diploma.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm continuing with my studies. I'm doing part-time studies now, and my BTech about 2 years. And so now the challenge there was the company then underwent a restructuring.
I actually know about that. A friend of mine was involved in that process.
Yes.
It was hectic.
Yes.
It was hectic.
Yes, and a lot of people lost their jobs because now, it's last in, first out.
Yeah.
And we were the newest people to have arrived. So after that, they called me back. But when I got back, things changed. Things had changed. We started doing long hours, and the staff was cut.
Yeah.
So that affected my studies drastically. It affected my studies drastically, and I knew I had to take a decision now into what do I need to do? Do I cancel my studies, or do I continue working and remain fatigued forever?
Yeah.
Because it was that time where we were now fatigued throughout.
So basically you're doing 3-4 people's work.
Yes.
And on top of that, you're
Yes.
doing it at different levels, and your
Yes.
demands and the stress levels were
We're high. Well, it's the nature of the industry. It's highly
Yeah.
pressurizing. It's a highly pressurizing environment. Well, it's transportation. Things happen every day. You must be used to that.
Yeah.
And then I decided, you know what? Let me now look at a different angle. Into saying, what if I were to view or branch into the education sector or the education side of things, where now I have this knowledge, I have some experience, but maybe I can now add value. I believed at that time I can now start contributing and add value within the maritime education system, of which was something that was rare at that time.
Yeah.
Not many people knew it, but it was exciting and fun for me. I loved it, and I had passion for it, and I so wanted people to know about it. Obviously, you don't need an influx, but as an awareness.
We're going to talk about the influx just now.
Okay.
Because obviously what's happened is, since you were doing it,
Yeah.
we've now got a far higher level of numbers coming through.
Yes.
And that is going to be an issue, but let's stay with...
Maybe not.
Well, we're going to get there.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so you decide you're going to go into teaching,
Yes.
but you haven't got a teaching degree or postgrad, the PGCE, or you haven't got a BEd, so you're not recognized as a teacher. So
Yes.
how does that work?
Maybe I wouldn't speak at the level of allowing those things to happen. All I know is I know maritime and love maritime, and there were opportunities for people who know maritime to offer it in high schools, and I was one of those people.
So I actually know what happened there. The friggin' Department of Education, they didn't have any qualification for teachers in maritime.
Yeah.
So they had to make a special dispensation and say, we've just got to accept the fact that we've got to allow people in to teach it if they've got the experience.
Yeah.
So now you decide to do it.
Yes.
But well, what do you do there? Because I mean, how did you find your job?
Well, those schools that offered, we had to reach out to people that knew people, like your DUTs.
Yeah.
They would go to DUT because they knew that DUT had offers, so they will ask them for graduates, people that have that knowledge. So I was one of those people. I was approached by DUT to say, okay, please, there is a school that needs someone that knows maritime. Are you interested? And at that time, it worked for me because I was looking into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So bang.
Yes.
Okay. So then what happens?
And then I went there, I did my interview, and then I got in. Completely different, similar but different curriculum.
So you're saying similar to DUT, but different because it's at a school level now, right?
Even the content.
Yeah.
Even the content. You find that it took me time to adjust to it. I didn't just flow into the content.
Now you're teaching maritime economics.
Maritime economics, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then obviously I don't know anything about teaching.
Yeah.
So I had to now do my research and consult teachers. So I'm learning teaching while I teach.
Okay.
That's exactly what I was doing. But from now and then, the department will organize workshops for us.
Yeah.
And they will support us and give us any guidance in terms of lesson planning, in terms of moderation and all those things. So they will try and add value where we did not have. Okay. So over the years, gradually, I ended up fitting in.
Kind of, and you learn, and I mean, let's face it, you've been in a school yourself,
Yeah.
You've been in a university of technology yourself,
Yes.
So you've seen Oaks teach, you've seen Oaks lecture.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
It isn't, eh?
It's not.
Okay, so now you start, so you land up teaching, so tell us a bit about the school, and tell us a little bit about your first experiences of teaching, your first month or so. What was it like? And
Okay, firstly, the school that I teach in is Mowat Park High School. It's a girls-only school in Montclair, Durban. And then when I started, maritime was still a small subject. I think they had introduced it the previous year. So I came there in 2015. I think they introduced it in 2014.
Okay.
I think I had a grade 11 and a grade 10 class, a 6 in grade 11, and I think I had a full class, 30 learners class in grade 10. Yeah, hectic for me. Well, I knew I had to do it. I did not know how to get to the minds of youngsters.
Yeah.
I knew the content, but now how do I convince them into saying, here is something, grasp it and know it. That was my challenge. Okay. And also, how do I organize work such that I finish whatever I have to finish? How do I know when it's the right amount or when it's not? I don't know any monitoring instruments and all that at that time. And then it was hectic for me.
I can only imagine.
It was hectic for me. And that 1 year, it was hectic.
Yeah. Exhausting.
I had to do extra. Over the weekends, I had to go to experienced teachers. They are teaching me. Sometimes I wouldn't be at school. I would be in another school, viewing or observing another teacher teach this. So I had to go through that.
Now, you're dealing with that, but on another level, you're a young male teacher.
Yes.
In an all-girls school. That must have been crazy as well.
It was challenging as well, but at the end of the day, for me, well, maybe in that 1 year, while I was adapting to the system, I did not understand how things work, but then eventually I understood that, you know what, education is something different on its own.
Yeah.
If you are in education, there are certain things, there are certain standards and the norms that you need to uphold, and you must realize yourself as that in order for you to be able to carry out your duties effectively. Otherwise, if you are not aligning yourself to that, it's not worth it, and the system will kick you out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
No, it is like that.